there a civil war behind the scenes over at Warner Brothers when it comes to the DC movie side of things? It's all rumor and speculation, but a lot of people are thinking that, like if there's a division between, the Warner Brothers Pictures people and people who are on HBO Max, and a key part of the division has to be, what to do or not do with the Snyderverse, right? Jason Kilar, who runs everything, seemed to like the Snyderverse and want to continue with it. And AT&T are the ones who greenlit and made the Snyder Cut happen on HBO Max, right? But, Ann Sarnoff and other people at Warner Brothers Pictures, the movie side of things, they don't seem to want the Snyderverse. Ann Sarnoff basically, like I said in a previous video, she basically nuked the Snyderverse, said it's done now that the Snyder Cut has been released. So there do seem to be two different factions. And, if Jason Kilar, the big boss, if it's true that he wants the Snyderverse to continue, why can't he just force everybody to continue it if he wants, if he's the one in charge? Well, Small Screen UK, now this is a rumor site, wrote an article talking about this. And let's get into it. Let's see if what they've heard, or maybe they're making it up, I don't know. But anyways, they're thinking what a lot of you are thinking. So let's get into it and see, do you believe any of this or all of this? The headline of this article is Restoring the Snyderverse, Inside the Civil War Between Warner Media and HBO Max. Basically, the old school Hollywood part of it, the theatrical release movie making part of it, and the part of it that wants to do streaming and things like that. HBO Max versus Warner Media / Warner Brothers. If that's a good way for me to categorize the different divisions. The truth of the matter is, the hierarchy over at Warner Media is a mess. Too many cooks in the Warner Media kitchen. There are too many people in high-up positions, and they're all jostling for full control. That could make sense. Because, Warner Brothers and Warner Pictures and Warner Media has, even before this, it had kind of a confusing hierarchical structure. And, people always say about DC, there's not one person in charge, etc., etc. That's not new. I've been hearing from some people actively involved with HBO Max specifically that the whole thing is a mess. And it's only getting worse. It's actually been getting worse since the Ann Sarnoff interview. The infamous Ann Sarnoff interview. And that's because there's a rift within Warner Media itself. There are people inside the company who are supportive of Zack's vision for the Snyderverse and would love to see it continue. I don't think you'd be surprised to hear that these people are mostly involved with HBO Max. People have been asking me why Jason Kilar hasn't said anything since the release of the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. Oh, who's me? That's the writer of this article, Edward Lauder. Well, I will go into that in more detail in a moment, but to cut a long article short, it's because there's been a gagging order within Warner Media itself. Unless they're approved by the companies, Warner Media in this case, lawyers and PR experts, he puts experts in quotation marks, then they cannot make any public statement. This includes any sort of message on Twitter celebrating the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League and thanking Zack himself. Well, this headline is Zack and his Snyderverse was a problem for some people at Warner Media. I was told that Warner Media specifically was furious with Zack for having done as many interviews with YouTubers as he did. And yeah, if you're someone who goes on DC YouTube, he was on a lot of those channels. Warner Media reps kept on pleading with Zack not to do any more interviews with YouTubers, I was told by an inside source. That was the main reason why Zack was trying to distance himself from Geeks and Gamers in that recent live stream, which subsequently blew up. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about this, but Geeks and Gamers is not a DC YouTube channel. It's a channel that mostly, complains about Star Wars, but it's a very big channel. And Zack Snyder went on there to promote the Snyder Cut and, the Snyder Cut's fan base's work to raise money for suicide prevention, right? But at the beginning of that video, he basically kind of disavowed or distanced himself from Geeks and Gamers, and it kind of blew up into a little online YouTube controversy, right? There were people saying, oh, is he trashing Geeks and Gamers? And Geeks and Gamers and their friends were having to defend themselves, but whatever. That's, a very brief, abbreviated overview of the problem. So what's going on at Warner Media? Well, I like to describe it as a civil war. This is a civil war between companies that have almost been forced to work together, Warner Media and HBO Max. They're both now technically part of the same company, but they are most definitely not part of the same team. This all happened when AT&T purchased Time Warner back in 2016 for a reported $85.4 billion. The deal didn't officially go through until 2 years later in 2018. That was due to a number of court battles, which I won't go into now. What AT&T did then was create Warner Media, and the area of the company we're looking at specifically is Warner Media Entertainment. Warner Media's rebranding hasn't made things easier. Warner Media Entertainment consists of HBO, TBS, TNT, truTV, and the direct-to-consumer video service HBO Max. This was a huge rebranding for the company and ended up bringing up together entities that hadn't really worked together before. Now we're adding things like DC Films into the mix as well, which is actually just complicating matters. So the rebranding is still relatively new, and what AT&T would like to see is all of these different departments working together in harmony. The issue is that they aren't, and one of the reasons why they're not is because there are simply put too many egos involved. And that is believable. It happens in companies all the time. You have all these different executives and managers, and they all want ownership or control, and they want to, flex their own muscles. Ann Sarnoff, they all want their own way. Ann Sarnoff, in her interview with Variety, talked of a roundtable and bringing together all of the silos over at Warner Media. The thing is, those silos are still silos, and they're not working together well at all. The easiest way to try and figure all of this out is by naming the people at the top who are supposed to be overseeing everything and making things run smoothly. It's time to name names. So there's Toby Emmerich, who is the current chairman of the Warner Brothers Pictures Group. Think of him as the president of this inner circle of powerful executives. However, he's not really the one pulling the strings. I'll explain why in a bit. Then we have Jason Kilar, who's the CEO of Warner Media. The thing is, Ann Sarnoff is now also very much in the picture. She was the CEO of Warner Brothers, which is a subsidiary of Warner Media. However, she's just been promoted to CEO of Warner Media Studios, which just makes the whole thing even more confusing. Then, as far as all things DC is concerned, we have Walter Hamada, who's the head of DC Films. And to make things even more confusing, we also have Casey Bloys in the mix as well. He's the chief content officer for HBO Max and would normally be the one who would be greenlighting projects for the streaming platform. So, those are the names I want to focus on here because they are the ones that matter. Emmerich, Kilar, Sarnoff, Hamada, and Bloys. This is the roundtable that Sarnoff was talking about, and now, in order to get anything major greenlit, all of these parties need to agree. It needs to be a unanimous decision, and when it comes to the Snyderverse, that decision is very much split. Snyderverse versus Hamadaverse, Warner Media Civil War. This is the civil war over at Warner Media. There's Team Snyderverse on one side and Team Hamadaverse on the other. What I've managed to piece together through my sources is that Emmerich, Sarnoff, and Hamada are very much in favor of working more with Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams, as you know, is producing the Superman reboot with Ta-Nehisi Coates, and he's also in charge of making those Justice League Dark shows like Constantine and things like that, and I think the Zatanna movie. They want to explore that avenue more as far as the future of DC is concerned. Then you have Kilar and Bloys on the other side who are trying to get the others to let them carry on the Snyderverse as HBO Max exclusives. They see the potential the Snyderverse has, but the others just want to let the past die and move on and away from Snyder specifically. This is why we've seen very little marketing for Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is why we saw Snyder going on YouTube channel after YouTube channel promoting his own movie. And of course, this is also why they waited 2 hours to fix the Snyder Cuts leak on HBO Max. Remember that when it was accidentally leaked on Tom and Jerry, and it took them, I guess, too long to fix it? That's what I heard anyway. I was told that that day was an insane day over at HBO Max, the Tom and Jerry day, and one of the main reasons why it took them so long to remove the Snyder Cut when it was accidentally leaked on the platform, because they had to wait for word from Warner Media on what to do. It was basically a nightmare of red tape and bureaucracies they had to wade through in order to just put Tom and Jerry back on and take the Snyder Cut down. Restoring the Snyderverse, inside the civil war between Warner Media and HBO Max. Ultimately, people at the very top at Warner Media didn't care about the Snyder Cut. They were hoping that they could release the Snyder Cut, appease the fans, and move on. Well, it looks like that tactic severely backfired. Now they are having to deal with the fallout. That Ann Sarnoff interview only added fuel to the already out-of-control fire. So where are we now? We are in the midst of battle. If Warner Media was smart, now the rest of this is all the writer's opinion. If Warner Media was smart, they'd let Zack have full control over HBO Max and continue his Snyderverse. All we can do now is see how things play out on the battlefield. Well, actually, yeah, none of this is really important anymore. I mean, not for informational purposes. So, according to this writer, Edward Loudon with Small Screen UK, that's why we're having a problem. So, while it might seem, if you believe all of this, that Ann Sarnoff article definitively ended the Snyderverse, there do seem to be other forces at AT&T, HBO Max umbrella who wanted to continue, but it's not so easy for them to do it without making a lot of people angry and ruffling feathers and creating all this drama. Like I said, Jason Kilar, who is above Ann Sarnoff on the ladder, people are saying he's pro-Snyderverse. And he does have the power to force everybody to do it, and I guess fire and out people and whatever if he wants to. But I don't know. If that's true, maybe he doesn't want to create too much drama, because if he were to do that, you know, that would be like a nightmare, and maybe he doesn't want to like deal with the headache. You know, maybe he'll just go ahead and do it. I mean, a lot of people are really trying hard to show the world and, you know, AT&T and Warner Brothers how important the Snyderverse is to them. You know, those restore the Snyderverse hashtags. I think a lot of people are watching it over and over again on HBO Max, so they have, you know, good viewership numbers. They have the data. They can see how popular it is. And I think, you know, there have been articles trying to diminish how popular the Snyder Cut was. But I think everybody looking at the numbers can see, you know, enough people watched it where it was successful. I don't know. It depends on what, you know, how successful depends on what benchmark you're putting in front of it. But by any benchmark, it has been doing well enough to warrant continuing it. It's not like nobody watched it, you know, if they wanted to. If they wanted to continue it, they have enough evidence to rationally do it, to make a case. But what do you think? Do you think that there is a civil war inside of the AT&T Warner Media house over the Snyderverse? Or do you believe it's all a load of hooey? Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel, because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.